Everyone. So I'm here today with Sourab. He has interned at Yahoo, and we did an interview with him when he was interning at Yahoo in the Yahoo office. But surprise, the audio wasn't good, so he came here today after the internship to tell us his story. So let them know a bit about yourself first.
Okay. Hi there. I'm a CS grad student at the University of Florida, and I spent 3 months at the Yahoo office interning there. I started coding in my first year of undergrad. My undergrad was in electronics, not in computer science, but I was always interested in computer science, so I started building websites and web apps, and that is how I started. So yeah, I started with HTML, which is not exactly a programming language, but that is somewhere to start. Then I learned C, C++, which is a good foundation to learn other languages. And most recently, I learned Elixir, which is a functional programming language. So
I didn't know Elixir existed. Who created it?
um, I don't remember the guy's name.
Okay.
Uh,
Was he like in a company or?
Yep, yeah. So there's this guy, Josh, I think.
Okay.
So he was a Ruby programmer, and he built this language, Elixir, on top of Erlang. Erlang is a language that is very old. WhatsApp is built on Erlang.
Okay.
So Elixir is just built on top of Erlang. It has a Ruby-like syntax. It's a functional programming language.
Are you referring to Erlang?
ER.
ER,
ERLANG.
Okay.
It's a bizarre language, but it works pretty fast. And WhatsApp, the whole infrastructure of WhatsApp is on Erlang.
Okay. I think what I was referring to is R, not R.
Yeah, the R language, which is used for statistical things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was yeah, I didn't have an undergrad in computer science. I mostly was self-taught, but starting last year, I joined University of Florida to pursue a degree in computer science masters. So since then, I've been taking some courses in CS. So what I realized is when you're self-taught, you miss on things like algorithms and data structures and operating systems, networking, the fundamentals, and taking the courses here, I was able to become a better programmer. But even without that, you're pretty good to go because people who are self-taught are uh, always looking to learn new things. They're faster at learning new things. So yeah, that is how I learned coding.
Okay, I'll take this. So where did you learn coding from initially? If you were studying electronics?
Yeah. Just Google it. Like, so if you notice, you'll have a problem that you want to solve, and like I was curious how websites are built, so I just Googled it, like how to build websites, and I went to W3 Schools, which is the most popular website to learn. Yeah, it's a pretty simple tutorial kind of website. You get to learn a lot of basics, and then I just went to Stack Overflow whenever I was building a web app. At one point, I built a social network that ran on the local internet in our school. So I thought that was pretty cool. I built it in PHP and the LAMP stack. So most of the older things, not anything fancy like Node.js or anything. Yeah, that was a good learning experience. Whenever I was stuck, I used to go to GitHub or Stack Overflow, and pretty much you do the same in your actual software job. Whenever you're stuck, you Google, and that's the reality. Yeah, that's how I learned to code.
Okay. So what do you think those websites missed? I mean, why do you think they don't teach you what you would have liked to know and you learned in university? Or which exactly are the parts that you think you missed so that people who are self-taught can learn them on their own, maybe?
hmm So I was more interested in building something cool. So all I required to learn was the things required to build these things.
Okay.
So I didn't exactly force myself to go through the basics, but when you go through a CS degree, they have like they try to give you a strong math and CS foundation to set you out, so like to help you in the outside world. Once you have your data structures and algorithms strong, your thinking improves, your code efficiency improves. So all these things are not exactly required when you're building stuff, but they are required in general. So operating systems basics, networking basics, as I said, data structures and algorithms, um, programming language fundamentals, There were some cool courses I took in University of Florida. One of them was distributed systems. So there were no exams. There were only 4 projects. So the professor told us to code in Elixir. That is where I learned the programming language. And he told us to build a Twitter simulator. So no UI, just the backend. So he was like, build a Twitter simulator in Elixir. Use only your own machine and simulate as many users as you can possibly. And
What do you mean by simulate users?
so, like, take one process as one user, and it will keep tweeting. Some process will tweet very frequently, some
Okay.
will not tweet very frequently. So it is simulating the real life Twitter, and so that is a simulator, and we have a backend. The backend is responsible for transferring the tweets between processes, like between users. So it was like a clone of the real life Twitter, and the challenge was to scale to as many users as possible. So
On the same machine?
so initially on the back end, I only had one process, which is a bad design, and then in my second iteration, I had multiple processes, and there was a single load balancer. So that improved the ability of the backend to handle more users or processes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so every time I was stuck, I would just Google. So there are so many tech talks available, like how big companies scale, like how Kafka works, or all these distributed systems technologies work. So it was a pet project, but I got to learn a lot on my own because there are so many resources available that you can learn from. The other cool course I took was programming language principles. We built our own programming language, which would compile to Java bytecode and would run through Java. So it is Java based, but all the syntax was ours. So we built a parser, a lexer, scanner, and all those 7 stages. We did machine core optimization, all that. So what the final product was a small language with a small set of commands that you can use to manipulate images. So that was cool. So in most undergrad CS courses, you do have a algorithms data structure course, an OS course, a networking course, a course which teaches you programming language fundamentals. So these courses will always help you because they give you general education, and whenever you want to dive deep in one of those, you have the basics strong. So that helps you. So I think that a CS degree is really important. So that way, yeah.
Or if you know what to study, just study
Yeah.
all of them online. There are a lot of massive open online courses to learn
Yep.
from, but yeah, it's like you have to be more motivated
You have
to
to
do
be
that.
more motivated.
Yeah. And okay, so you said you were had a different background and you applied for masters. So
Mhm.
how difficult was for you to get a master's degree? Were you also studying in US before, or how difficult was the transition for you?
Okay. So I did my undergrad back in India. So I applied for a bunch of different masters programs. I got accepted into a few. University of Florida was the best. I think when you're transitioning from a non-CS course to a CS course, you have a certain disadvantage that you don't get the top schools because not every school is open to accepting students who are switching. But University of Florida was. After coming here, it was very easy because I have a strong liking for computer science. So yeah, back in undergrad, I hated electronics courses. I never attended classes, so my grades were pretty low. But in CS, I had a 4.0 because when you like what you're studying, that obviously reflects in your grades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is 4.0 maximum?
Mhm.
Okay. I don't really.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's right.
I'm a noob in grades in the US.
Another point, grades don't matter much if you build cool projects and you can prove that you know stuff and you can learn stuff fast. I think one would make a pretty good software engineer.
Yeah. Very nice. Um, so how did you get to Yahoo in the end? Or did you apply to multiple companies and chose Yahoo as the best, or the one which, highlights your interests better?
Okay. Yeah, so uh, if you see most people who come from India for pursuing a master's, they work in between. Like after graduating from undergrad, they work at a company for 2 3 years and then they come for masters. But I came directly, so I didn't have any work experience. All I had on my resume was the Google Summer of Code thing and some personal projects and some freelancing work. Um, but there was no strong signal in my resume that like Google Summer of Code was the only strong signal, I would guess. No other such strong signals for the recruiters to know that this guy is good and he'll do good if hired. So I had a bit of trouble when I started applying. I got a lot of rejects, but finally I realized how to edit my resume. I applied to a lot of places. I interviewed with most of the big companies. I made it to the last rounds of every company, but as I got offers from Fidesa, Citrix, and at the very end, Yahoo. Yahoo was the best among these three, and the location was in Sunnyvale, California, and I always wanted to visit the Bay Area, so yeah, I chose Yahoo.
Yeah, I said in the beginning that you like visiting offices here, which is, yeah, I agree, pretty cool. I haven't gotten to visit many offices. How many offices did you see here?
Mm, Yahoo, of course.
Okay.
Which doesn't count because you're interning there. Yeah. Quora, LinkedIn, Google.
Google, yeah,
Many times every Friday for dinner. And
It's a
multiple
Friday
offices.
now.
Yeah. I almost went to Uber but didn't go.
Mm.
Uh,
I
yeah.
also almost went to Uber.
For the
one
open
day.
house?
No, for lunch one day.
Okay. Yeah. It's a pretty common thing in the Bay Area for students interning here. They just like to visit friends interning at other places, have
Yeah.
lunch at other places. Yeah.
Or go to open houses. I also went to Cora because there was an open house. Oh, you were there.
Yeah, I was there. We got to ask questions to Adam D'Angelo.
Mhm.
Which
Yeah,
was
he
cool.
was the CEO.
Yeah.
It's the first time I saw him and he's so young. Yeah, so last time we talked, you told me about how you started preparing for coding challenges for companies because you didn't have that sort of background. Did university provide some of it and then you learned on your own?
Okay. So at University of Florida, for completing your master's degree in computer science, there are some core courses. Programming language principles was one of them. Another is analysis of algorithms, which is the toughest course there. That is the advanced version of the algorithms course you have in undergrad. Uh, I haven't taken that course yet.
Okay.
I will take that course after I return to school. What I'm trying to say is I didn't have an undergrad degree in CS and I haven't officially taken any algorithms course yet. But I was able to get an internship by solving lead code problems. So yeah, it is very much possible to not have a proper degree in algorithms and still get an internship. All you have to do is practice algorithm problems. So I just do I just learned things by doing things. So I just started solving lead code challenges. And first I used to do easy, but then I realized that solving easy lead code problems is not going to take me very far. So I started solving medium challenges, and I solved a lot of medium lead code problems. And after doing it for a month or two, I was like, I can do this stuff. All I need is interviews. And so I started editing my resume and I started applying everywhere. I asked people for referrals, I emailed recruiters, I tried all the things possible, and I got interviews from everywhere. If I practiced a bit more, I would have ended at Uber or Facebook. But Yahoo is pretty good.
So you had interviews with both Uber and Facebook?
And Google.
Okay. Why didn't you mention Google earlier?
Because the earlier interviews for summer internship, and I interviewed with Google when I started my internship at Yahoo, so it was for the fall internship.
Ah, okay, I see. So how did you solve the challenges if you didn't know how to solve them? Like, how did you learn how to solve them?
Um, so my view is, in order to do good at these algorithm problems, all you need is you need to be good at logic. You need to like algorithms. So
You need to like them, okay?
no, like if you like solving algorithm problems, the process is much easier, right? Whenever you like what you're doing, it's easier. If you like math or logic, you like computer science most of the time.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
yeah, so I used to read a problem, and I had a vague idea of how to solve it. some of the times, and I had no clue most of the times. So I would just go to the lead code discuss section. So I would think on how to solve the problem for a while, like 30 minutes maybe. And if I'm having no clue on how to solve it, I would go to the lead code discuss tab, which is a pretty good source of information. People post code snippets and explanations on how they solve the problem. So that is where most of the learning I had. Yeah, I solved some 10, 15 medium problems by looking at the solutions, not by actually writing code and solving them. But later, slowly, I started writing code on myself, like on my own.
And did you feel that you got too much information out of the solutions? Like, would it benefit you if you had hints more than solutions?
Yeah. So LeetCode is working on adding hints, but when I solved it, it didn't have many hints, only solutions. One thing you can do is not look at the code, only look at the explanations and try to write the code on your own.
Did you read any books on how to solve problems? Like, I know there's cracking the coding interviews and such.
So as I said, I just learned by doing things. That is my style.
Okay.
But if you are if you like to learn things in an organized way, Cracking the Coding Interview is a really good book. If you just follow that book religiously and solve all the problems in it, you'll be set for most internship interviews and even some full-time interviews as well. So it's a pretty good book. So there are two other books. There's Programming Interviews Exposed, that's available in every language, and the other is this Steven Skinner's book that the name I don't.
Yeah,
if
you
you
can
just Google it,
yeah.
yeah. But Cracking the Coding Interview takes you from step zero, because we're programmers.
Yeah.
Like editing resume, applying to companies, how to approach a problem. Like it takes you through the whole process. So it's pretty good.
Cool. And what do you think is the most useful piece of advice you got, or piece of advice that you can give to people who are preparing to apply for companies, and people who are just starting to code,
Uh-huh.
as you were back several years ago?
Yeah. Um, Most important advice.
Or like some piece of advice.
Some piece, yeah, I have a lots of pieces of advice. uh, for people who are just starting to code, um, it can be hard sometimes, but if you just keep trying, the barriers will fall, and at one point you'll have that happiness, like you solved a problem. So that is what keeps coders motivated, I guess, like solving a problem, building a product. Like when you finally see your live website or live app released, functioning without bugs, so that gives you happiness that you created something. Um, so that is the advice for people who are just starting to code, like try to build something. And for people who are applying to a lot of companies, be prepared for a lot of rejections, and unless you have like a really strong something in your resume, like an Ivy League school or like really cool projects, or yeah. So one thing I would like to talk on is how to make your resume better.
Okay.
Um, so our school is something we can't control. Our GPA is something you can control. But the thing is, if you don't have good work ex, you can try building cool projects and including them in your resume. Um, Ultimately, if you get an internship or a full time at a good company, like a good brand name on your resume, that is all it matters, because once you have like Google or Facebook on your resume, then it opens the doors to a lot of other opportunities. For me personally, after I added Yahoo on my LinkedIn, recruiters started approaching me. So that is a situation very different from what I had 1 year before, when I was approaching recruiters for jobs. Also, sometimes online applications do not work well. So if you can get a referral through a contact at that company, that works best. Um, Other things you can try is emailing your resumes to recruiters. Guessing recruiter emails is not that hard. Um, but other ways to get recruiter emails is like if my friend has interviewed with Facebook, so I would ask him for the recruiter email. So yeah,
You're like next level. I didn't do that.
so I had to do that because I got this internship against all odds. Because if I see back in my university, there are a lot of people who didn't get internships, who had work experience. So what I strongly believe is, if somebody just puts me in one of these big end companies and says like work, I'll outperform most of the people there. But in order to get to those top companies, I'll have to go through this interview loop where they won't ask me anything related to the work. But um, so I would also like to speak on why they have like algorithm interviews. Like, it doesn't make sense to a lot of people. Like, if I'm going to work on a pretty normal project which doesn't require trees or graphs or anything, it is still asked in the interviews because it's a sure way of weeding out weak applicants. If you're good at algorithms, data structures, or if you have put enough work, enough hard work to solve these problems, it proves something. Like, yeah, you're worth something, and that's a quick way for a company to weed out applicants. And giving you programming projects is not scalable. Some companies have started doing it, and it's a better way, like pair programming, debugging sessions, take home projects. All these are really great methods of interviewing, but these are not very scalable, and algorithms is a time tested method, and for Google it is working well. So other
Definitely.
other companies also have started doing it, most companies in fact. So if you're good at algorithms, data structures, you'll be in a good position in tech.
So last time we were doing this interview, you told me some very insightful stories from
Yeah.
Yahoo, or about Yahoo. So I'd really love to hear them again.
Sure. So these are stories you'll find on the internet on your own. I just came across them because as I was working on Yahoo, in Yahoo, I started researching about Yahoo. So some interesting things are David Filo and Jerry Yang, the founders of Yahoo, who were Stanford graduates. So some years later, when Larry Page and Sergey Brin were doing their PhD thesis and they came up with this PageRank algorithm, they came to these guys and said like, we'll sell you the algorithm for $1 million. But Jerry Yang and David Filo said like, no. So they passed. They passed on, and then we know how the story. Yeah, we're at
Yeah.
Google now. So that is one interesting thing, and there are multiple such things, or I would say opportunities that Yahoo passed on. At one point, Microsoft wanted to acquire Yahoo for 48 billion, and most recently, Marissa Mayer sold Yahoo to Verizon at 4 billion. So it's 1/10 the price.
Wow.
Yahoo was in every space before anyone. It had something called Briefcase, which is the early version of Dropbox. It had Yahoo Shopping, which is still big in Taiwan. It has Yahoo TV in Japan. Uh, there was Yahoo
Yahoo
Small
TV.
Business.
What does Yahoo TV does? Like YouTube TV?
Kind of.
Okay.
It has shows. It releases shows just like Netflix originals.
Okay.
So it was in every space before anybody, but it got beat to market somehow. So even our team, Yahoo Small Business, has a product like Shopify, which allows you to create e-commerce stores. It has been there since like 18 years, when Shopify was not even born, I guess. I don't know exactly. There was Yahoo Mail. There's Yahoo Search. Yahoo Mail is still going strong. Yahoo Finance is still going strong. Yahoo News is good. Yahoo Sports is still going strong. Yeah, some Yahoo products are still good, but yeah, there are a lot of opportunities where Yahoo didn't make the cut. Okay, another interesting story is about WhatsApp's founder. He worked at these Yahoo Sunnyvale buildings for 7 years. Um, he used to go to the gym there, and he was annoyed that when he went to the gym, he used to miss calls of people, and so he made an app, a basic iOS app, which only had status updates. It's like I'm away, I'm in the gym, something like that. There was no messaging, but later he added messaging, and when iOS released push notifications, he was fast and quick enough. Their team immediately implemented the push notifications features in WhatsApp. Uh, After his 7 years at Yahoo, so initially that was how he built WhatsApp. Um After he left Yahoo, all of them applied to Facebook for software engineering positions, and all three of them got rejected. They went full time to work on WhatsApp, and then we know how the story ended. Yeah, they bought WhatsApp for 19 billion, and then the
They
WhatsApp
still
founder,
work at Facebook now, right? Or
they
don't?
left.
They
Yeah,
left.
they
Okay.
didn't like the data policy, something like that. Yeah, there are pretty interesting stories in the Silicon Valley in general. I learned like so Marissa Mayer took control of Yahoo from 2014 to 17, I guess. She introduced free food. She introduced Friday FIIs. So basically, she tried to bring the Google culture to Yahoo. The free food thing was really good because during my internship, I had 3 meals at Yahoo. The food is really great. All the break rooms are loaded. Food is the thing that you won't have to worry ever at Yahoo. It's the same, I think, at most big end companies. Um, it also encourages employees to do more work because they hang out at the office. So that is also why like most companies provide Wi-Fi on buses, yeah, to extract more work. But yeah, overall it was good that we had free food. Um,
That fly is bugging me.
yeah, that's fine. Uh,
Kill it. I'm just kidding.
no. Yeah, that is. So most recently, Reid Hoffman, the CEO of LinkedIn, started a podcast, Masters of Scale, and he interviewed Marissa Mayer. Um, so this is her story of how she got into Google. Back then, Google was a small startup, not very attractive to most. They were working on something bizarre, which is not a big thing then. Marissa Mayer was a
Now
grad.
it's very hard to imagine how can it not be a big thing, right?
Of course. Yeah, so she was a CS grad student at Stanford. She already had 13 offers.
Oh wow.
I guess that's normal for Ivy League bright
Mhm.
students. Yeah. But you also can get that many offers if you work hard. It's only that you don't have the brand name, so you have to work hard. You have to prove skills. They have a bit of slack. It's what I think. But yeah, I would not emphasize on that. Yeah. Um, so she already had 13 offers on a Friday evening when she was eating her pasta. She was in a bad mood. She got an email which had only 3 words in the title, like work at Google. So she was about to delete that email, but she clicked space and it opened. And she was like totally confused. Like now she has 14 offers instead of 13. So what should she do? So she went to a friend. They made a data table. She was well known to take data driven decisions even back then. So they factored in everything like total compensation, stocks, learning opportunities, team, everything. They made a big table. And after 6 hours or 7 hours, they didn't reach a conclusion. So her friend just told her to go sleep and whatever she feels like doing the next day, just go do it, which is the natural way people do it, I guess, if they can't take a decision through data. So yeah, she just joined Google and yeah, they were trying to hire somebody who had experience both in front end and in search engines. After many months of failure, they weren't able to find anybody. So one guy just said, Marissa, just learn it and do it. And she did it. And then she became an engineering manager. She's most well known to start a APM at Google, which is now replicated at other companies, the associate product manager. Uh, most of the APM graduates are CEOs in Bay Area companies, like the CEO of Polyvore and other startups. Yeah. So that I thought is interesting. Later, she went on to become the CEO of Yahoo. There, she did a lot of good things, but finally, she couldn't revive Yahoo, so she sold it to Verizon. Now it's Oath. Verizon owns Oath. Under Oath, there is TechCrunch, Yahoo, AOL, Tumblr, Huffington Post, like 50 companies. So yeah, that's the story of Yahoo. uh, During my 3 months here, I read a lot of stories. So yeah, I find stories interesting. Uh, yeah, there was the story of Steve Wozniak, the
Mhm.
actual guy in Apple.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say actual because he was the programmer, he's the technical guy.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs is pretty awesome. No comments, but he was not a programmer. Although that doesn't matter. He is like the major reason for Apple's success. But it was Steve Wozniak that actually built the product. He was the technical guy. He built the Apple II computer. So he was an engineer at Hewlett Packard, HP. Um, he was good at computer stuff from an early age because his father worked at Lockheed Martin and he used to frequently take Steve Wozniak to all these labs and show all the innovation happening in computers. So he used to love it working at HP.
Mhm.
He was like, engineers are very reputed at HP. They're respected. I want to work here for my entire life. So when he came up with the Apple II idea, he like went to all engineering managers. He begged his team to start producing Apple IIs because he didn't want to leave HP. He wanted to work there for a lifetime. He loved it there. But and they did listen to him, but they only produced like 2,000 Apple IIs, which is not enough to like launch in the consumer market. So Steve Jobs convinced Steve Wozniak that like, come, let's do our own thing. And then they started in a garage, which is located behind the Stanford school.
Did you see it?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, they started their own company and now it's Apple. Yeah, they're pretty fascinating stories. So I attended a hackathon, the South
Mhm.
Park Commons in SF, which is a magical place. It's kind of like a startup incubator, but less stressful than the Y Combinator. It started by Ruchi Sangvi and Aditya Agarwal. Ruchi Sangvi is the first female engineer of Facebook. She built Newsfeed, and
Nice.
it's hard to imagine Facebook in any other way. Like before Newsfeed, you had to go to my profile to check my updates.
Yeah, that's very.
So yeah, that is Ruchi Sangvi, and Aditya Goral most recently has been the CTO at Dropbox. So they are like really smart people, and they're now working in South Park Commons. Like South Park Commons is their creation, where they fund people and invite people to work on things. Uh, Aditya Agrawal narrated his story at that hackathon that both of them were graduates at CMU. Again, a good brand. They went on to work at Oracle as normal SWEs. The work was really boring. After 1 year, Aditya was frustrated that his code would never see the light of day.
Mhm.
Like one day he was writing 30 lines of code, sending it to other offices, getting it back. Like these are the bugs, write these 30 lines again. And next year he went to 60 lines. So, and he asked his manager like when my code will be actually integrated into the release version. So his manager was like 4 years. So he was like, this is not happening. And through a mutual contact of a mutual contact, he came to know a kid named Zuckerberg who was working on cool stuff. He went to meet him, and he was working out of his apartment where there was zip line in the back, and they were just enjoying and building cool stuff. Uh, Both Ruchi and Aditya went on to work at Facebook, like really, really early employees. They contributed a lot to Facebook. And on the third day, Dustin Moskowitz asked Aditya to push to production. And there were still like 2 million users at that point. And compared to the past year at Oracle, Aditya never did a production push. So he
Mhm.
was pretty tensed, but he said that he felt liberating, that he is trusted with such big responsibility, which is why they made sure that in the boot camp program that Facebook has, that is the program for like new hires, the first 6 months program, they make sure that if a candidate is hired on a Monday, he has his dev environment set up by Tuesday, and he does a small bug fix in production by Wednesday. Yeah. Uh, yeah, both of them worked in Facebook till like 2009. They built various features. Aditya Agrawal was the first engineering manager, like a second engineering manager at Facebook. So all these people I noticed like just learned the job as they
Mhm.
were doing stuff. They were really smart people, probably as smart as anybody here. Not like really super geniuses, but obviously they're special people. Um, the series of events in their life is important.
Mhm.
Aditya Agrawal, I guess, was a normal guy when he worked at Oracle, but the point where it really changed was when he started working at Facebook. Yeah, and then both of them left Facebook. They started their own company, Cove, that got acquired by Dropbox. They went on to work at Dropbox, and now they left Dropbox to work on South Park Commons.
So they always work together.
They're married. They have a small kid. He's really
Oh, okay,
cute.
okay.
They were
I
dating
see.
since the CMU days.
Makes sense then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
They're really down to earth people. I talked to Ruchi. Yeah, it was like, wow, I read about these people and now I can actually see these people. Like, they're really down to earth people, normal people who worked on really amazing things that we use day to day. And that is one advantage of being in the Bay Area, because you can attend events and meet these great people and learn things. Yep.
Definitely. Thank you for all the cool insights.
Okay.
It's definitely been a pleasure to listen to all of them.
Thank you.
And I hope those guys watching will enjoy them.
Okay.
Yeah, if you like this video, don't forget to like, and subscribe somewhere.
Okay.
And if you have friends who are just learning how to code, don't forget to like share the video and the channel to let them know about WellCode and about the cool stuff we're doing. And
I learned a lot of Romanian from WellCode website.
you can learn Romanian from the WellCode website if
Salut.
you go there. So until next time, bye bye.